Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode one of the Cloudy Head podcast. This week I'm in a different location. This week I'm in a different location. Um, I'm in my bedroom. This is where I make all the music. I'm not gonna show you my bedroom because it's not really clean, and it never really is. I'm just chilling on my bed. I had to use a different microphone, as you can see this week. Because of my regular microphone somehow just stopped working. I don't know why. Um, so that sucks. Gonna have to get a new microphone. Great. But anyway, this week on the podcast we're talking about. I got the phone instead of the notepad here. We're gonna be talking about schoolwork and success. Not schoolwork, but school, comma, work and success. Yeah. So this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, or just have my perspective and views on what these things are and what defines them really. Um, I think school, first of all, is just like maybe in itself kind of a weird concept because yeah, it doesn't really well, okay, here we go. Like school doesn't really teach you exactly what you think maybe would be the most useful things after a certain point, as I kind of alluded to in the last episode. If you watched that, if you didn't, check the last podcast episode, obviously. Um, but yeah, I don't think school really teaches you the things that are necessary in life to be able to deal with everything that is equipped that you would need equipped for adulthood, right? Oh yeah. Hold up. Before I really start, shout out to, got a new hat. Got the if you know, you know. I'm not even gonna say what the symbol is. If you know, you know. Got the new hat. You know what I'm saying? Um anyway, yeah, I feel like, man, this is such a weird topic for me because I'm just like it could go so many different ways. But school I feel like doesn't really teach you exactly what you need to know. There's a lot of it where I'm just like, after a certain point, like obviously, right, you need to know the basics, right? You need to know like math, you need to know about history, obviously. What else? You need to know basics of science and things like that. How things, you need to know like a base level of like what everything comes from or what everything is, just so you can have a general basic understanding of what things even are. You know what I mean? But after that, or at least mixed in with that, they should teach you like what it actually means, or like, to be an adult, because they don't really teach you that kind of stuff. Like, it's not a mandatory thing in like most curriculums, if any curriculums that I personally know of. They certainly didn't teach me that at school. Shout out to my schools that I went to. But I just don't really understand, like, so okay, like everybody goes to kindergarten, and obviously basic stuff, counting, one, two, three, ABCs, stuff like that. Honestly, I don't even remember what we really learned in kindergarten. Maybe just like very basic base level stuff. um i I don't know how far the math went. I really don't. But just basic stuff. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, if you're in America. Very, like, elementary school is like solid, I feel like, for what they teach you for the most part, right? They're not teaching you rocket science. They're not teaching you, they're teaching you everything in a very digestible, sometimes, most of the time, a digestible kind of, format. But sometimes they do teach you stuff that absolutely just doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm like looking out my window because there's like neighbors, and I'm like, what what do you this is when you live, like, this is what happens when you live like super close to your neighbors. This always happens. Like, this happened on the first episode of the podcast, or episode 0 as I call it, where I'm just like looking out the window to see what the hell is even going on. But it is what it is. Anyway, like I was saying, I got to make sure I time this because my camera will run out in like 30 minutes, because I'm using my actual camera now, not my phone. My phone is right here. That first thing I recorded the episode on, the first, or episode 0. I'm still not used to saying that. I don't even know why I did that now because I'm like, it's already too late for me to go back and change it. But it was like the Inception episode, like the conceptual, basis of how this is gonna go. I'll definitely update this format over however long I decide to do this. I'll probably try to go at least I'm not gonna make any promises. I don't know. Maybe I'll go 50 years, maybe, I'll stop after episode, 3. I don't know. Probably not though. This will probably go on a lot longer than 3, but technically 4, I guess. All right, neighbors are distracting me again. What was I saying? Man, this is going to be more distracting than the first podcast. Yeah, but basically school. Uh like I said, elementary school I think teaches you basic stuff that you need to know. It's nothing too complicated. Everything feels very digestible, you know what I mean? Like everything feels like it's in a format where it's like easily acceptable for kids to learn in one shape or another. Very basic stuff. Until you get maybe to around 5th or 6th grade, then it seems like, some stuff is definitely necessary, but some stuff is definitely also unnecessary. Like maybe like some of like the curriculum, at least towards like just they should add stuff in like, hey, you're gonna need to know this, or you're gonna need to know, like right around middle school is where they should start teaching you like, more complex things, which you think what they would, but it's kind of like the same stuff kind of over and over in terms of like topics and subject matter, like, throughout elementary school they only go so far on the history. They give you all the basic tropey stuff like Christopher Columbus and, Thanksgiving, and like, they give you some European and history here and there, some American history here and there. They don't really give you a whole lot much else than that, at least not what I learned. They do, but they don't, right? They give you like very general broad stuff. They don't really teach like, how time works with like BC and AD and all that too hard. Like they kind of just mention it, They don't really get into it super conceptually like, okay, what does this actually mean? Is this based on Christ? Is this based on farming? What cultures are these based on? Like they do, but it's so broad and the information is so overwhelming at that age. It's like it flies right over your head and you're just like, what I've learned about in school is that like most of the stuff that you learn is really more akin to just test taking. It's really, I don't know if it's like that in other countries, but from my experience in America and Cleveland, Ohio, at least, it seems to be very aimed towards just like, at least when I was a kid, it seemed to be aimed towards test taking. You learn this stuff basically for a test or standardized testing to a degree. There's material that's separate from testing and then material that isn't separate from testing. And then it seems like teachers, at least from my experience, were more focused on standardized testing and what you needed to learn specifically for that. And once that was over, everything else was just like extra. It's like, yeah, like, I had some teachers that tried to go above and beyond just what that curriculum was, and they tried to teach you like stuff about history, like, some stuff about Black history and all that. Like, it seems like they don't teach you basically anything about Black history other than the tropey stuff, like, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. That's, maybe Harriet Tubman. Um, you know, uh, I mean, we had to do a project about like, Black inventors and stuff like that. Not Black inventors, but just Black historical figures in civil rights history and stuff like that, like in 3rd or 5th grade. I had the teacher for both of those grades, so I get those two mixed up. I feel like it doesn't touch nearly enough on that because America's whole problem, right, is race, right? Everybody's always like arguing or like, nobody can really simply agree on race because everything is not one thing or another, right? It's not black and white, so to speak. Everything seems to be more like kind of this way or that way, and pulling in all directions. And it's just interesting that I think it stems from, first of all, people not being truly educated enough on the topics that we need to be taught, like Black history, and like why things or certain things need to be happened to change what happened in the past. Things even like the Holocaust. It's just like you learn about it and you learn about like how crazy, just the concept of something like that happening, but you don't really understand a lot of the motivation for somebody to want to do something like that. Or like, you kind of just, I think every country has kind of a way of just teaching its history to the point where it's just like, yeah, we were badass in this war, we kicked these people's asses, and then it's over. We beat these people up and now we win. And our history is great and everybody else's history, right? It seems to be something like that. But I'm just kind of like that seems kind of, in the grand scheme of things, I think it erases the need for people to be compassionate towards each other, at least from certain perspectives. Because if you're only getting one perspective, then you're not really getting the whole enchilada, the whole, everybody's combined perspectives and what things look like from an objective standpoint rather than just your standpoint. Yeah. Kind of went on a tangent there. Didn't even really want to talk about history that long. I said I had a lot to say, but since my camera's going to die in like probably like 25 minutes. Yeah, since my camera's probably going to die in like maybe less time than that. Um let's move on. So that's what I feel about school at least in the earlier stages. The curriculum and everything like that, I feel like it's only aimed more towards standardized testing like I said. It doesn't really teach you excuse me, all the things that you really need to know to have a broader view of the world and how it really is. And maybe I don't know, that's overwhelming for a kid, but it is the truth. You know what I mean? So I don't know. My point is like, especially in like high school, it's like, right? Like in high school, you want to learn things that are like, okay, this is going to help me towards adulthood. But instead, in high school, like home ec classes aren't like, mandatory. And I don't think home economics classes really need to be like, so, I don't know. Every tropey thing you see on TV from an at home economics class is like, oh, we gotta, have a baby for a week with a partner. And it's just like, what? I don't get that. I don't understand that. That's stupid. I mean, obviously, you have health classes, but it's boring as hell. They don't really teach you anything. My health experience was just a guy putting like a movie or something on or an overhead projector on, basically scaring you with like diseases and stuff. And it's like when you're in high school, it's like you're so immature still. At least I was. I was just like, let's just do this and get it over with. I don't really want to think too much about all this, like, having babies and like, people doing this, that, and the other. Like, but I guess there should be some kind of emphasis on like, hey, we're not gonna tell you what to do, but it'd probably be in your best interest to not have a baby in high school or a baby like right after high school or like, you know what I mean? Like, it would seem like things like that would be like a logical thing, but a lot of kids do not realize that, hey, it's probably not the smartest thing just from a financial standpoint or an emotional standpoint to have a kid like in high school or right after high school, but they're not thinking about all that. They're just thinking about like, does this person like me or not? It's just silly stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, in high school they should definitely teach you things that are like aimed more towards you know, paying bills, how to pay a bill, how to write a check, just basic shit, you know what I mean? Like they're not teaching you really any stuff like that. It's like you either have to depend on your parents to teach you stuff like that, or you have to like in our modern age just like look it up online. They teach you like stuff like return addresses and stuff in like elementary school, and by the time you actually need to use it, you already have forgotten it because it's not aimed towards a test. You see, like what I mean? Like the trend is always towards a test. And it's like if you're not gonna use that information on a test, you don't need that shit. You know? That's what the general consensus seems to be, at least from my perspective. So by the time you actually get to high school, it's like, okay, you don't know how to write checks, really, if you don't have a job. Because I didn't have a job throughout high school just because I didn't have a car. and I didn't have a way. I lived so spread apart from everything. There was no plausible way for me to be able to go to school and have a job and somehow be able to get to point A to point B, you know. I didn't have a car, and I would have definitely had to work to earn one. But like I said, everything was so spread out for me. I mean, I guess I could have got like a job at McDonald's or something. That wasn't too far from me. I was like maybe down the street. But I lived in an apartment complex and the road was like, you know, super busy, and I don't know, it just never dawned on me, I guess, to like, hey, I should get a job. The focus was always school, but even though I ended up, you know, not going to college, I didn't go to college. Almost went to college, but didn't quite go to college. The closest I got to going to college was I like went to I guess like I don't even know, like an admissions office, a counselor or whatever they call those people at colleges. And you know, I was talking to a lady and literally set up a whole entire schedule, and then you know, all I had to do was like take an entrance like math exam or something. And it's not like it was a community college, it wasn't like, you know, but that would have probably gave me credits to be able to transfer eventually to an actual college, or like a, you know, something that wasn't a community college. I don't want to like diss community colleges. But you know, shout out to Community, the show. That show actually, in retrospect, made me kind of want to go to college. But I'm like, college is probably not like that. It's probably definitely not like that. That show was lit, and college, a community college, would probably be some fun, but it probably wouldn't be lit like that. Part of me wishes that I went at least just for the experience, not to actually get a job or like, you know, anything like that, which is what it's supposed to really be for. It kind of makes me wish I just went for the experience, that college experience, you know, like I went to college and, you know, I partied and I did this and I hung out with these people and I met these creative bunch of people and we started a startup and now we have Apple too. Yeah, but that's basically what I think about the whole thing. Um I think schools definitely need to teach you how to pay bills or just like the concept of it, cuz when you're a kid and you're a person in high school and you don't pay anything, you don't know shit about paying bills, and you know, you don't know anything about that kind of adult perspective. So it's like, to ingrain that in you as a child, like, hey, once you get out of here, you're gonna have to like actually do things that are gonna, you know, they're gonna put some pressure on you. You know, everybody says the real world. It's like you're a kid, you still have no concept of that. You know, a high school kid, you don't have any concept of that. It's like that may as well be a foreign concept, because it's like, what does that actually mean? But when you get out there and you actually do stuff, and it's just like, oh, you know, and that's why I'm kind of somewhat glad I didn't go to college. But I'll talk about that a little later. They definitely should teach you paying bills, you know, writing checks is another one. They should teach you stuff like how to open a bank account, you know, or just like what that would entail, or usually what that entails. They need to teach you about credit cards and credit, because they do not teach you about credit cards or credit. And that can screw a person's entire life up. It's just, you know, stuff like that. It'd be great if they even taught you stuff like what to expect with your first like car purchase, or like, you know, just basic stuff like that, like transportation, jobs, paying bills. That's literally what your entire adult life will consist of. So it's like, why don't they teach you any of that? At least, like I said, from my perspective and my experience, didn't teach me anything about that. I don't even think there were classes to learn things about that. Yeah, it seemed kind of like they just, you know, the curriculum is definitely not aimed at actually helping you with anything in real life. Like, they're teaching you stuff like the periodic table. And I'm sure in some applications the periodic table is somewhat helpful, but I'm like, what am I gonna, why? Um yeah. I don't really understand it. But that would be a great, you know. I think schools really need to, school superintendents, if you're watching this, teach, please, please, teach kids about paying bills. Teach them about writing checks. Teach them about, like I said, a first car purchase, or at least what to expect. At least how to not get ripped off. Teach them about credit and how to build it and how it works. Teach them about actual American history, what black people did to, not even black people, minorities in general did to really uplift this country and make it into a actual country and an actual melting pot. They're just not teaching any of that kind of stuff, and it's kind of frustrating. Because once you're an adult, you kind of slowly but surely, if you choose to, learn these things within time. And all these things are like learning mistakes and learning curves that you kind of have to go through in order to become like an actual adult and actually grow with some sense of maturity. You know, discounting all the relationship bullshit and like, emotional attachments that you may have. I'm just strictly talking like how to navigate through life financially and like respectably as an adult, like with stuff like being able to get around to point A to point B with like a car and amongst other stuff. I'm gonna have to take a break here to check my camera because I'm pretty sure it's gonna like just stop recording. This is so weird that I have to do this. My phone can just record for basically an hour straight. I don't even know how. Didn't know there was even that much space on my phone to be able to do that. I'm gonna stop right here. All right, so I'm back. What was I saying? Yeah, I was just pleading for schools to be able to take a deeper look into what kids actually need to have an adult, you know, education to just be able to prepare them for what I swear I had a water. Oh, it's across the room. Perfect. Ugh. Okay. I'm back. I'm back. Yeah, so I was saying just need to teach kids just respectable stuff in order to be an adult. Just stuff that they actually need to know. American history that they really need to know instead of just candy coating and kind of just glazing or glossing over certain parts of everybody's culture and history. I'm pretty sure there's some important Asian American people. Pretty sure there's very important Jewish people, Native American people, Latin people, just some very important people in general. Schools just kind of don't go over everything. Some states in their textbooks, they just straight up omit things. They just straight up don't have a bunch of stuff in there to really be able to tell you what's what. And that is very frustrating because, it leaves people with biased opinions, and it probably is not helping in terms of like racism and, culture and having a sympathetic culture for minorities and things like that probably doesn't help. But that's just my opinion. So where I was going with my like little college tangent, I guess, was the fact that I didn't go to college. And it's something that like I said, for the college experience, it would have been cool, but it's something that I definitely don't really regret because I feel like those things that I mentioned about not going to college or not going to or not going to I'm getting ahead of myself. Of schools not teaching you in while you're in school. I feel like life taught me those things. And I guess maybe that's like the traditional way of having it happen, but I'm like, wouldn't it be better if you could equip, kids with things like that before they actually meet a context in which it actually physically affects them, you know? I think that would just be why be reactionary and not be more proactive and get to these things before they actually occur in one's life. At least that's what makes the most sense to me. So anyway, let's talk about work. Oh well, geez, I had a lot of stuff I want to talk about school. That could be a whole podcast episode by itself. Good lord. Okay, so college, student loans. Yeah. I want to talk about student loans first. I guess we'll just go through all the little bullet points I got here, since I actually did you know, go as far as to actually like write it out. Student loans. Student loans are like crazy because, the prices of student loans student loans seem to have just like, at least now compared to like, let's say 1960, have seemed to have escalated astronomically because uh schools are not just schools once you get out of public schooling and mandatory government school. Once you get past the stage of high school or 12th grade, then, schools, even though that, even I would argue public schools are still kind of like that, but s- my big bullet point here is are schools are businesses. They are there basically to be a business. Um, Maybe they're set up in a way where it seems like they care about higher education, or maybe just they want to, I don't know, it seems like to me like a big mirage, right? It seems like to me like a big like, don't get me wrong, no, I'm not like on college. Like, you can learn a lot of great things in college. You can go there, get your degree, get this degree, and learn how to use that degree and help a lot of people in whatever you do, whether that be like a medical field with like nursing or being a doctor, being a lawyer for people getting like injuries or like, stuff like that. There's a million other things you can go to college for, but those are just off the top of my head. So, like, don't get me wrong. I think college can teach you higher learning in that. Like, it can teach you, it can help you with the tools you need to be able to reach a dream job if you have that. Me personally, my dream job never really entailed for college. Like, I could go to college for it, but it's like to have just like maybe a little certificate that I can hang on the wall, I guess. I could have it for something like that, but it's like, it really wouldn't teach me anything I couldn't learn without college. You know what I mean? It'd be more structured for sure, but I mean, you don't really need college for a lot of stuff that you actually need. A lot of stuff that you need is just hands-on learning. A lot of technical schools will give you things like hands-on learning, but only really to a certain degree, I feel like. Cuz some of the stuff you just need to straight up just go out and do. You need to have an on-job experience to really realize what that job or thing will really entail. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but back to my main point, I guess. Schools seem to be more of a business, and you know, that's why I really don't understand the price of student loans if they're truly trying to help people. I get that maybe it costs to run everything at a school, like, all the but I mean, like, even that, like, yeah, I guess that accounts for it, right? Like, student loans and tuition and stuff like that. Like I said, I've never actually physically been to college. I've never been in a class. I've never had lunch at a college. Like, I've never really even been on a tour of a college. Yeah, it seems like they're just businesses at the end of the day. And only thing they really care about is money. And, I'm sure some colleges go with the motto of like higher education, like I was saying, and they come off with like a attitude of they want to be able to give you a higher learning or a higher education. But I don't know if it really comes off quite like that in actuality. Yeah, because I don't get why student loans are so stupidly high, you know, for, even a 4-year college or something like that. And, some people get out of that college and it's like, okay, now the pressure's on because you have to find a job. Whatever you're doing, it has to be applicable to be able to pay that student loan off. Because now, if you can't pay that student loan off, you're in debt. And nobody wants to be in debt because that's already putting you miles and miles behind where you actually should be, which is ahead of debt. And that's just a terrible way to start off your adult life. As soon as you get out of college, and then, you know, you got student loan debt, but you got to have a place to live, right? So then you got to either pay rent for an apartment, or you have to be able to save up or put a down payment on a house, or just immediately, however that works. If you want to rent a house or however you want your living situation to be, if you eventually want to live in a house, now it is harder for you to do such because you're already in debt from something else. Even things like a car, because it's like if you can't just afford like a $20,000 car right off the bat, now you're in debt to, or if you don't buy it with a loan or like lease or whatever, now you have a debt to a dealership, or whoever approved the loan for you, actually, for the car. It just seems like adulthood also revolves around debt, which is something I didn't even plan on talking about. But yeah, adulthood definitely revolves around debt. And it just seems like the adult system in America, I was going to say Ohio. In Ohio, I said Ohio anyway. America it seems like it's kind of built for you to fail. Yeah, it seems like it's built for you to fail. Unless you come from like a rich family and they could just pay for all the shit you need, then it's like you don't gotta worry about that. But for the rest of us and everybody else, it's like, yeah, not made of money. Gotta pay for stuff. Gotta definitely pay for stuff. So being in debt right off the bat out of college or around that age or whatever is just not the best way to start your life. I think there needs to be, I know there's been some talk about that maybe recently. I don't know. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to politics. I mean, with the year of 2020 and this election that we just had and everything like that, you kind of had to pay attention to the politics. It was the first year that forced me to, really, really sit down and be like, okay, what the hell is actually going on here? Because people are like dying and protesting, and there's like all this stuff happening. And I'm just a simple guy just trying to make some music in his house. Literally, that's it. Uh, and you got all this stuff outside of that, at least from my perspective, that just like, okay, I gotta like think about like what's happening. It's like so many things happen in 2020 that just literally turn the world on its head. Crazy, crazy. Yeah, there should be some kind of system, I think, uh, or at least in place where it's like you're not set up for debt immediately after something like college. It should be set up in a way where it's like you don't have to struggle. There shouldn't be like immediate adversity right after you do something like graduate, because I would imagine that'd be a very shitty feeling of like graduating and working so hard to get this one degree. You probably have to take a bunch of classes and midterms and finals and all this bullshit that was just like, stupidly hard and probably unnecessary to a degree, at least from a college kid's perspective. And then, you turn around and now you got to pay all this like student loan debt, and then you got to worry about a place to live, and you got to worry about trying to land a good job in order to pay for all this stuff. And then, what if you end up not even liking the job that you got to major in? And like, there's just so much stuff that like could lead to depression or just like not actually feeling like, you made the right choice or you were put in the right situation. That's just my thoughts on it. I know that seems probably pretty bleak. I didn't really mean for it to sound that bleak or, disastrous, but I mean, like, that's just the reality of it to me, is just like potentially it could be very hard to deal with something like that, even though you've accomplished this great thing and, at least what they tell you is a great thing, by getting a degree. That's just my perspective on it. So from my perspective, I've had to work for basically everything that I've had. My parents have been really nice to me in order to, let me stay home and just kind of try to figure things out and not like immediately, pressure me, I guess, too much to just have everything immediately figured out, because adulthood is not the easiest thing to even have figured out. So I'm very appreciative and grateful for that. Let's see what we got here. More topics. This one might go on for a little bit more than an hour, because I feel like I got a lot to talk about on this one. I didn't even intend to make it this long, but I got some shit to say today. Okay, now I want to talk about work. I think work is kind of like I said in the last podcast. Work after a certain point is like kind of bullshit. Like it's just kind of unnecessary after a while. It's like it's work environments make no sense. Like, right? Like they want you to be like efficient and fast at what you're doing. Like let's just say like a job like being in a factory. Let's just say a factory job. They want you to be like efficient and fast at what you're doing, but they also want you to be safe, not for your own protection, but because they don't want to get sued or like lawsuits, or they don't want the company's name to be put in the mud or like something bad to happen. So it's like they don't give really a shit about your safety. They just really care about their own asses and their own money, which is sad. It's just like we can't even care about each other as human beings in a work environment. So they make all these like, guidelines and, bullshit things basically that are like law protected or like, like, oh, you have to hire certain people, like you have to hire every race. You can't have like prejudice and all that stuff when it comes to like hiring or how you treat people in a workplace because there are laws in place to do that. And I guess even in a work environment, like that's all bosses and all work environments are just going to straight up say like, hey, we don't want to hire this person for such and such or X and X and X. It's like they're basically, just going to slide some things under the table. They're going to do things a certain way and move in a certain way. Stuff like that is just like really like lame to me. And really why it's just like I understand why, the whole like SpongeBob meme of like, Squidward saying like, hey, we do this for 40 years and then we die, It's like that's what basically it feels like to be an adult is wash, rinse, repeat. Like you just basically do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. All right, sorry about that. Camera died halfway through. I was talking about the SpongeBob meme where it's I guess I don't even know if it's a meme. It's more just like an episode of SpongeBob where he says Squidward says a line like, we work 40 years. He's like complaining and in the middle of it he says we work for 40 years and then we die. I was basically just complaining or sympathizing with him that it seems like that. I talked a lot about after my camera died, which I didn't even notice until like 10 minutes after it died. I talked about basically Social Security and stuff like that and how it doesn't really seem. Sorry if I spoke about this before and I just don't remember because that was like literally 10 minutes of me talking about this. So I don't know exactly where it died at this moment in time. But basically, I was talking about how Social Security doesn't seem to really be set up for an actual ideal. I mean, like in theory it's ideal, right? But like in actuality, I feel like it's not actually like set up to truly help the retiree or the elderly person that it's using to be set up for. And I was saying like how it's kind of like crazy that some people have to work past the age of that, and that I really don't like the fact that everybody around me has had to basically work their asses off for everything that they have. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be like that, but I'm saying like it's kind of crazy that it has to be like that. You know what I mean? I just think that that's like kind of stupid. I don't really agree with the way things are like set up. And I feel like even though like, you're promised this Social Security when you retire, you have to be able to basically work at a job you may not even like for a long duration of time to even be able to get to that point. And I just think that's like total bullshit. So, but that's just somebody just started a motorcycle and it caught me off guard. I'm sorry. Doesn't seem to be picking up on the microphone though, actually. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep going then. I don't know if I complained yet about interviews. If I didn't, I was basically saying like how interviews are just like they ask you the dumbest questions, like what's a flaw that you could like fix, or like what makes you want to have this job, or like I mean, I guess seemingly decent questions, but when you actually think about them, it's just like, why would you want to show off? Why would you want to tell somebody an actual flaw? I guess that's to point out like honesty or something like that. But it's like in some jobs, you don't need honesty. Some jobs, you just like, you go to it, you work it, you go home. It's simple as that. There's no complex things about, working a certain type of job. But they'll ask you those same dumb questions at those types of jobs where it's just like you punch in, you punch out, like I don't understand that. I think that's stupid as hell. And then the other thing, I'm so off track now that my camera died. Living wages, living a living wage. Now, in Ohio, I know that I think the minimum wage is like, I want to say maybe $8 and something. Maybe actually, I don't know. I don't know I don't want to make that. I don't want to correct if you're from Ohio and you're watching this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it might be up to $8 and some change. I think minimum wage at one point was like 8.10 if I'm not mistaken, and then it raised maybe to 8.50 or a little higher, but it's somewhere around like, $8. That's not enough to live on. No matter you'd have to work like 60 hours a week for that to even be somewhat decent. And after the end of that, you'd be dead from working 60 hours a week. And I'm sure some people watching this probably work 60 hours a week or close to that. It's probably infuriating to have to do that, isn't it? I think that society is set up in a way where that's another thing that I feel like it should not be like that. There's so much money, being spent on like frivolous things, that don't really need to be spent on at a federal level. And I'm just like, why the hell are we, not making the minimum wage a lot more money? You know what I mean? Because these big corporations don't even fucking pay taxes. So they found business loopholes in order to, and moving money around in certain ways to not even pay taxes on any of the revenue that they actually make. So why is it that they can't raise the price of minimum wage, especially with the price of, or the cost of inflation and everything going up? Like I was saying, I don't know if I said this already, but like gas prices are going up, even though it's a fossil fuel. So it's like, yeah. But for whatever reason, it still astonishes me that like how we can, it's a thing that can run out, right? But how have we been consistently using it every single day for like decades? It's like that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, I know it's not sustainable forever, but it seems like it's very sustainable, at least recent, or at least like now. But like the prices fluctuate here and there based on different things, right? Like at least seemingly, like at least on a local level, right? Like a holiday will come in, maybe it'll lower for a couple of days, and then maybe when people are traveling, it'll rise or something like that, like couple cents, For people to use millions, I don't even know how many gallons of gas people use a day. It has to be a lot though, and it still hasn't run out. So I'm like, that's insane that it actually has been there's that much of it, but we're using it so much that it's just like it's not gonna be able to sustain itself. And then you got like the price of other things. It's just like, man, there just doesn't seem to be like a real big solution to stuff like that, at least from my perspective, because not everybody can afford an electric car or have a way to use a car that has sustainable energy. And from my perspective, something like that still is in a state where it needs to be a lot more efficient for it to, for our entire, bigger is better culture to be able to actually want to buy something like that. A lot of people are going like fuel efficient, but like, not everybody has a perspective of they want to drive a small little car. A lot of people in America, or at least where I live in Ohio, in certain areas, everybody has trucks. Everybody acts like they're from, they're cowboys or something, and everybody has trucks. So I'm just like, not everybody wants to ride in a dainty little station wagon, or a little Volkswagen or whatever, a Jetta. uh Personally, I don't mind. I don't, I have a pretty, pretty decently fuel efficient car. Nothing electric, but in terms of gas mileage, it's pretty fuel efficient. Decently fuel efficient, I should say. Not like, it's not like it, I don't know. I don't know the whole rundown of stuff like that. Like, I could be wrong. They could probably have won like awards, I don't know from who, but how you go to like those blue book sites or whatever, or like those car sites, and it's just like, oh, it won best safety in its class, and it's just like, from who? But from who? Who's having these award shows that we don't know of? Like, have you ever went to like a car award show and just saw like somebody just, being like, and now we're presenting this model, and now it has, this level of efficiency, and we're gonna gift it an award, and it'd be like, awards from people that you never heard of in your life. It's just like, what company is that? Like, what, it's like the Grammys or something, right? It's like the Academy. The fuck is the Academy? Who is that? Who is that? You like, to the regular person, it's just like, what does that even mean? It's just like so like ambiguous. It's like, the fuck is the Academy? Who is that? Who are those people? Can you name some names? Like, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. That's how I feel about it. I could be dead wrong, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah, but like, I guess my original point was that a minimum wage is definitely not enough to have a living wage, and it's definitely not to make enough. At least in my state, like I said, in my state, it's like $8 and some change. Not enough money to be able to have, an apartment, a car, you know, utilities or something, and then a bunch of other cell phone bill, a car note. Like, that's not enough money to generate from a 40-hour work week to be able to pay for all those things efficiently. You'd have to have multiple jobs, or you'd have to work like literally like 60 hours a week. And by the end of that 60 hours a week, see, the way I am about jobs and working and stuff is just like, okay, my camera's still recording. The way I feel about jobs and efficiency and stuff like all that is just like, or just, I guess, jobs in general, not efficiency, is I get like very existential about it. Like, I'll be in the middle of a shift, and then I'll be looking at the clock and like, bruh, somebody's like honking a horn out there. See, like, this is what happens. I get, every time I film this podcast, I want to film outside. What is that, a boat? Like, what horn is that? I wish you could, if you can hear that, it sounds like a boat. It doesn't look like it's picking up on the microphone at all, though. That's crazy. That was literally like a motorcycle, and then it sounded like somebody had a boat. Lost my complete train of thought. Okay, I was talking about living wages. Trying to have a living wage, right? Or the way I feel about, like, I'll be in the middle of a work shift, right? And I'll feel like I'm like dying, right? Like, I'm just dying to go home. Like, I want to go home so bad. Like, so bad. Like, very, very, very badly. And I'll get very existential about it. Like, right? Like, that's my whole, like, that's why I'm motivated to even start a YouTube channel and do any of this kind of stuff. It's just like, do I really want to work at this job for 40 years and then die? Like, I always have that, like, existential, like, crisis moment where I'm just like, do I really want to do this stupid shit for like 40 years and then die? Because it's like, I don't give a about like anything that's happening within this company or what they're doing. SpongeBob is some real shit. Like, it basically, in a very shortened manner, was like, I've seen some video essays where it's just like, when you're a kid, you can relate to SpongeBob, right? SpongeBob, the character itself. And when you're an adult, you definitely relate way more to Squidward, because it's like you basically become Squidward in your adult life. Like, I remember the pizza episode where they're delivering the pizza, Squidward said, SpongeBob says, Squidward, think about the customer. And he's just like, I don't care about the customer. And he's like, Squidward. I'm Squidward. I became Squidward in that situation. Like, I don't care about the customer. I really don't. Like, does the customer care about the worker? But do they? Probably not, right? So it's just like, I know it's a business and you're supposed to care about stuff like that, but generally I don't care. I'm just here for a paycheck, It's like, if you're at a job you're not passionate about, that's your feeling, I mean, sure, you can make friends with coworkers and everything like that, but there is definitely a separation between the people that own the business or your boss, and then, like, you and your coworkers. There's definitely a separation there. You can't all be buddy all the time. Maybe you have a cool boss and, you get along with them for the most part, but at the end of the day, they can still tell you what to do. So there's a separation there. There's like, a power separation there, right? People like to use the whole power separation thing these days. But there's definitely a power separation there. Cause it's like, they want you to be so customer centric, but it's just like, bro, the customer doesn't give a fuck about me. Like, you guys don't give a fuck about me. Like, if I died, you just get somebody to replace me, and then it would just be like, well, it's like an assembly line. It's just like, well, just grab another robot off the shelf. It's like that's how they treat people at big faceless companies, you know. These big companies that don't really have like a real you know, people behind them that you can associate with like a face, like, oh, this person does that. And then when you can't associate with a face, companies that I will not mention, but when you can associate that company with a face, that person usually isn't the person that's even running things on a certain level. So it's like you can't even really blame them. It's just like, bro, who can I blame for this? Because these companies are like these big billion-dollar companies are not your friends. Like, you know, and I'm not trying to, you know, shit on all of them, you know, but I'm like, some of these companies are just like, you know, at least their public perception is like all fancy, like, you know, they're, it seems to be coming off like, oh, they're so great, but it's like on a certain level, like, no, they're not your friends. They're not here to look for your best interests. Really, they only care about the customer because they want the customer's money. And that's always been the bottom line with a lot of these companies and a lot of these, like, you know, giant, faceless, nameless corporations. I don't like that about society. Don't like that at all. Yeah, but that's how I feel about a living wage. That kind of went on a tangent, but like I said, I had a lot to say. This is definitely going to be over an hour. So to the 5 people, if even that are going to listen to this, thank you a lot. Tell your friends, get more people to watch this. I promise, I got some fire. uh, okay, so I covered interviews, living wage, bosses, hours of work. Like I was saying, sometimes I'm at my job and I just look at the clock and I have an existential crisis like, please, 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 let this just end. Like, if you have to take my life right now, just take me. Just take me. I can't do this anymore. I really have moments like that. And it's just like, you know, I'm joking and like half not joking. Which is why, like I said, I'm doing something like YouTube because it's like, this is like something where I'm just like, this is cool. This is like a passion job. Like, this is something that I like, just, I wanted to do. Like, this is just something that I think is fun. And it gets me out of that headspace of like working for 40 years and then dying. And then, you know, Social Security being dog shit and not being able to help me, you know, actually enjoy retired life. You got to be able to do something besides just working for these corporations and making somebody else $1 billion. That's probably the realest shit that I can say in this whole episode is that you got to do something else besides working for these $1 billion companies, and you got to go and try to make your own money somehow or start your own business or, you know, do something that you really love. Shout out to people like Gary Vee and all these like inspirational business people, like, you know, that'll actually like tell you like what you really need to try to do or like what you should do that's best for you, you know, because there's a lot of situations where it's like people in positions like that just tell you BS stuff to try to get more money out of you. But like, so shout out to Gary Vee because I really appreciate somebody like him. I know he's basically like a meme in some circles or whatever. Like, you know, people have made videos like after watching Gary Vee for a few videos, and then they do this whole spiel about like, you know, how people talk about like garage sales and investing in this or that. But I'm like, dudes like that, like literally, you know, he's definitely doing more good than bad, I feel like. If he even is doing bad, I don't know. But he's definitely doing more good for the world, you know. Even by just making small Instagram videos or YouTube videos or whatever he, you know, is doing in a video format or an audio format, you know. Just giving out small advice, showing clips of him giving out small advice, not having the time to really, you know, divulge in with random people enough, so it comes off as like, you know, he's being empathetic, but it's like at the same time it seems kind of like a little douchey just because it's like he doesn't have like the time to be able to really sit down and spend with each individual that comes up to him, because there's literally thousands upon thousands, I'd bet even millions, you know, that would want to have a one-on-one conversation and just literally talk to him. I know he has like a number or whatever, but I'm like, realistically that's impossible to talk to everybody and give everybody your time. But yeah, I really appreciate guys like that. That'll tell you how it really is, that tells you what you really should be doing, which is everybody, I feel like the world would be a better place if everybody just like worked and tried to do their passion, you know, and maybe just tried to monetize their passion. Because I'm like, I don't know the ins and outs of how to realistically make that happen. Some jobs or some passions maybe can't be monetized, but it kind of feels like everything can be monetized. This is something that I thought of like maybe a couple days ago that I really want to talk about before I have to, you know, pause for another time because my camera is still recording, thank God. But I want to talk about like it seems crazy to me that like everything is like you could make everything like a job or not everything a job, but everything you can monetize it. And it's like it's crazy to me like think about this. In 2005 or 2000 whatever, did you ever think that playing a video game, sorry if you were like born in that year if you're watching this, but did you ever think playing a video game, something that your parents would tell you, "Oh, don't play video games too much. You know, don't watch TV. It'll like, you know, those it'll rot your brain, people. Oh, there's too much this in video games. There's too much that in video games." Think about a world like that, right? Where everybody's telling you something like that is a waste of time. Even some people probably just even a couple years ago or even now think playing a video game is a waste of time. People make millions of dollars playing video games. That's the tweet. Millions of dollars playing video games. That's fucking insane. That's fucking insane. When I was a kid, I would have never, ever, 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 ever imagined that you'd be able to make millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars from playing a video game. All you got to do, seemingly, is just play a video game on camera. And it's just like, that's insane. That's really insane to be able to just play a video game in front of an audience, whether you're good at it or not. You can just be total trash at a video game. And if you just are passionate about it and you have some kind of charisma or you're good at it or you just happen to be funny or you tell a story while you're playing it or you know you say something funny or a situation that happened to you or you get serious and talk about real deep rooted issues or just like life in general and you gain an audience, people will watch you and you can gain views and you can gain money from just doing that, you know. A prime example of somebody that I know nothing about, you know, so this kid named Dream or something on like Twitter or like, you know, YouTube or Twitch or whatever he actually does. I'm assuming it's Twitch and YouTube. I don't know a whole lot about him, so I'm not gonna pick sides or, you know, because I know like all these little kids have their like fandoms and everything. Sorry for, you know, I don't want to come off as condescending, but like I don't know anything about the dude. All I know is that I just I kept hearing his name, so I just checked out like what his video views are like. He has like millions upon millions of views from playing Minecraft. From playing Minecraft. Minecraft came out when I was like in high school, and even then I thought it was like, this game is alright. So I'm just like, how in the hell does somebody that's like anybody really play a game like Minecraft and get like 20 plus million people to consistently watch them play Minecraft? Minecraft. Like, it's not like it's just it's a very simple game and concept, right? Like I've never really played I've never actually played Minecraft, but I've watched it from other YouTubers and like people actually like quite a bit. So it's like I know there's like I know there's like certain things that you can do and like this and that. And you can build crazy landscapes and you can have a crazy house and people have done like amusement parks and like all crazy stuff in just like the creative mode. Then you can play the game mode where it's like you can or the story mode or whatever you call it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm very ignorant about this subject. But like you can do that and you can find like, you know, fight some kind of ender dragon or something like that at the end of the game. I hope that's the right, you know, thing. And there's like, you know, monsters and all this stuff and like you got to go to the Nether or something like that. A fun game. I get why people play it, but I'm just like, what on earth would make millions upon millions of people want to watch somebody play a game like this when it's not like he's even the first person to play Minecraft? But I'm just like, something about him is attracting people to watch that. And I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about. He's probably super passionate about playing Minecraft, and a bunch of people can pick up on that energy and they'll want to watch it. So I'm just like, having something like a Let's Play channel, or like just doing Let's Plays in general is like, financially probably one of the smartest things you could do other than just bust your ass at a 9 to 5 type of job. That's just one example, because that's the example that I see is the most readily available. There goes the boat horn again. um, yeah, I'm gonna pause and then talk about the next topic because I don't want this to be cut off by the camera dying or anything. So gonna pause it. Okay, I'm back. Um, so what I wanted to talk about next was that I didn't want to be interrupted for was Game Grumps. Game Grumps is basically the same idea I was just talking about, in which people, are just watching other human beings just play a video game. Which, like I said, if you thought about this anytime before, like, really, like, 2010-ish, like, this was a crazy idea. Like, people watched, like, walkthroughs online, but, like, I don't know if the concept of a playthrough really, really blew up until, like, around the 2010s, like, early 2010s, like, maybe 2000, like, 12, 13, yeah, 12, 13, 14, like, that's when the concept of, like, Let's Plays, like, really blew up, and people gained an audience for stuff like that. And the Game Grumps was basically the first Let's Play that I have ever watched. I love the Game Grumps. Aaron Hansen, Danny Avidan, and formerly John Tron. I mean, Game Grumps it is, definitely different format now. But back then, shout out to Ross too, Rubber Ross O'Donovan. Game Grumps is like just like crazy, like the concept of it is so simple. It's just like it's genius. Like Aaron and John, when they made the channel, like that, it's so simple of an idea, but it's like yet it's like it's so genius of an idea too, because it's like all they're doing essentially is just playing video games. They're they don't even have a face cam or anything. It's just the game, the game audio, and then their whatever they're recording into, like their microphones, and that's literally it. They're just playing games. They're talking about random stuff. They'll make lewd jokes. They'll make jokes about the character. Uh, Aaron won't even pay attention to the dialogue in the video game a lot of the times. Daniel, have some kind of like story or some kind of thing about like, his, uh, maybe like his childhood or something, or what this character reminds him of, or like he likes to play a lot of old classic video games. He'll use a lot of terms, he'll joke about that nobody uses, like bored to describe a level or something like that. Like just stuff like that. It's just like it's so refreshing and entertaining to hear just like people just play a video game for some reason and just talk. So I get why people like the idea of Let's Plays, right? Because I myself really like the concept of a Let's Play. I mean, I could name a couple of people, but I don't know if you watch Let's Plays or if you have any interest in a Let's Play. But try one out. Game Grumps definitely is the one I started off watching. They have like a playlist of games. Most of the longer series that they play, they'll make it into like a series. So it's like I would recommend going to watch Super Mario 3. A lot of the Mario ones are good. You can't go wrong with really any of the Mario ones. Super Mario 3, Super Mario Sunshine, Legend of Zelda, really any of them, even the CDI games. Yeah, Game Grumps is lit. Game Grumps is really funny, but I mean, like, it's something that started from such a simple idea, and now it's basically like a real business. Like, they've started basically like a whole, you know, I don't want to say like empire, but like they've started like a whole business. Like it was in Aaron's house at one point, and now they have like an office, like and you know, like that's crazy. They have like an office and then like employees, and it's like, you know, an actual like company business thing, and they even like made a video game. Like it's like ridiculous, you know, like all from just, you know, being two charismatic guys on not even on camera, but just, you know, audio of just them playing a game and just saying funny stuff over it and just talking over it. It's like so simple, but it's like genius. And they were so consistent and are consistent with it, you know, like they used to upload, I don't know, was it 3 times a day? They used to upload like 3 times a day, which is like it's like is like stupid, like workhorse like mentality. Like that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of video games that they're playing. But like, you know, they do it, they film it in such a way, or like I don't know if they still do or not. I'm sure they do probably, but it's in a different format now. The episodes are longer now. They used to be 10 minutes long, but now they're longer. They used to like just do a film session, maybe like of a couple hours of playing a game for like a certain amount of episodes, and then they would, you know, do it the next batch in another session, and then they would just chop it into episodes, in a 10-minute episode, so the viewer, us, could watch it in a daily format. And then they would do the same thing with Steam Train. RIP to Steam Train. Steam Train is lit too. Go watch, if you want to watch a classic Steam Train series, go watch anything with Leisure Suit Larry, which is hilarious, or like one of the Sierra games. It's like a company that makes these like I don't even know what those games are, like how you describe, but they Steam Train is different because they usually play like online type of games, or games based like online, not like console games. So that was a cool concept, but now it no longer exists, sadly. And I miss it a lot, and I think Game Grump fans miss it. But you know, I guess I don't really know why it ended. I guess, you know, Ross just wanted to work on different things. He has like a cartoon, I think, eventually coming out, and which is incredible because he's an animator. And Danny, I probably just wanted to do some stuff where he focused on music, and it was just probably like a lot of filming. But like, yeah, Steam Train is legit. Just go to Game Grumps. It's all in the Game Grumps channel. And then you could just go to like the search bar if you're on a desktop and just search like, you know, uh, Steam Train, and a Steam Train, and a bunch of stuff will pop up. Yeah, but basically, Game Grumps is just like such a crazy idea to me, that it's such a simple idea, but it works. It's genius. It's just like, you know, what's the word for it? I don't even know the word for it, but kind of like Raz, I guess, on Aaron. Like, he's not even that great at video games, and he'll be probably the first one to really kind of admit it, that he's not the, you know, like a pro level gamer or anything. It's not like he's like, you know, 360 no scope everything or whatever. I don't know if that's still a thing. I'm showing my age here, even though I'm not even really that old. But you know, he's not like the most proficient gamer. Like, he's not the most efficient gamer. You know, he messes up a lot of things. He'll talk over dialogue or something, and they'll miss a vital point of it, and people in the comments will be going crazy, like, why you were talking at that part, you missed this part, you know. But it's hilarious. People have gone as far as to make animated segments of them, or like funny highlighted like parts of an episode or something, and then they'll even go as far as to pay people to make animated episodes on their channel, or like edit it. Like, it'll usually be like what, like a minute, 2 minutes long at most, because animation is extremely hard to make. But you know, it's like just the idea. They have like merch and everything. Like, my whole synopsis to this basically is just to say, like, an idea like playing video games is a plausible idea for somebody to be able to do in 2021, and it has been essentially for like almost 10 years now. So I think to work a job in which you're, you know, doing manual backbreaking labor, and that's not your favorite thing to do, maybe try to explore a different option. And that's probably the reason I even wanted to start a YouTube channel in the first place. Is it's like, I don't want to have to work a job that'll give me like a herniated disc or like something stupid like that, you know? Like I just want to be able to just like do something that I'm passionate about, which is music. You know, I love video games. I've always loved video games. I've always loved basketball. You know, I've always loved art, you know, in general. So I'm just like I want to do something that, you know, uh borders on that and is something creative within that realm of things. And I think that if you don't like your job the way it is now and you want to do something different, even if it might seem a little crazy, go for it, you know, or just do something, do that job on the side until it can become something that's like, you know, plausible for you to actually do in actuality if you're when and if you make a lot of money. I don't even want to say if because I believe that you can do it if you're consistent with it. Because like I said, Game Grumps used to put out 3 episodes a day and that's like a crazy work mentality, but they would record everything in bulk and then just chop it up into episodes. So it's like, I don't know if your passion is something like that that can be done like that, but you know, go for it, you know. Why not? I mean, you got one chance to live in this world and this life, so it's like, why not do something in which you're passionate about and that you actually want to do? Even if, you know, maybe you can't make money from just get it out into the world and just do it. And, you know, who knows what could happen. So I'm a person that like, you know, isn't super successful. I don't consider myself successful by my terms of the word whatsoever. But I definitely think that, you know, I'll definitely get there if I just stay consistent. And I think a lot of my ideas and a lot of my talents are actually pretty attractive, uh, just in general. But it's like, it's almost like I've been hiding or not actually being able to, you know, show them off because it's like, it just never dawned on me to do something like that. You know, it seems like the traditional route is to just, you know, go to college, go to school, get a degree, and then just do whatever job you went for a degree from. But that pathway is like just simply not for everybody. And I realized it kind of like, you know, in high school, like, oh man, like, I don't think I actually want to do that. Like, you know, because I had other ambitions and just stuff that I just wanted to do that I felt like was different from that. Even if my friends at the time or like people that were close to me, like my parents or like other family or whatever anybody that's close to me thinks, it's like maybe not accepted that at the time. But it's just like I don't want to die feeling like I just had an ordinary life. You know what I mean? Like I kind of want to be able to do something on a scale where I'm affecting, you know, a lot of people at once. And I've always had that ambition or that thought. Even when I was a kid, I've always wanted to have like an audience or like just people that I can affect in a positive way with some form of art that I was doing. Whether, you know, one time I wanted to be a manga artist. Um at one point, you know, uh it's still, I mean, like, there's still a lot of stuff I want to do. I would love to be able to get into film, not as an actor, but like something like behind the camera. I would love to direct something or, you know, do something in cinematography or just like make a film of something, you know, even something simple. It'd be cool to to get into animations in one way, shape, or form, you know. Yeah, obviously music. That's I consider myself a creator, I guess. At this point in my life. Um, I don't even really think I really consider myself just a musician anymore. I think I had for years, but at this point, I think it's evolving into something much more than just simply music. That's definitely the number one thing, though. I want to emphasize that is definitely the number one thing I think of myself as is a musician. But overall, I think of myself as a creator who makes music, if that makes sense. But you know, music is definitely a passion for me. Obviously it's something that I want to make a career out of, but you know, I don't want it to be the only thing I do. Like I'd love to be a let's player. As soon as like I said, as soon as I figure out how to do the whole capture card stream thing, it's going up on this channel. I definitely intend to play Spyro the Dragon because I've like I said, I've talked a big game about that game for a long time. So I gotta show you that I knows what I knows what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Spyro the Dragon. I love Spyro the Dragon. I love Crash Bandicoot. I love PS1 games. Like I grew up playing that stuff. I love Super Nintendo. I love, a lot of retro games, a lot of modern games and stuff. I'm not super into, but I have played a decent amount of stuff. Um, gaming in general has just seemed to take in a step, leaps and bounds forward in terms of entertainment and being what, really inspires this younger generation, Gen Z. Because I think of myself as a millennial. I think I'm on the younger side of millennials, but I think of myself as a millennial. And, you know, yeah. I don't even know where I was going with that. I just guess I wanted to say that for some reason. That's like I said in the last episode, that's stuff to come. Beyond just this podcast, because these are the only things that I've filmed so far. Just this episode, the last episode. It's been about a week or two since I did the last episode. But, I don't want to film these too close together. I want there to be a gestation period, if that's even a word. I want there to be some kind of period where I let the thoughts kind of build up in my head until I'm ready to burst and I just want to talk, Because I've been talking for over an hour now and, I downed my water like in 10 seconds and now I need more water. But yeah. I think that's probably mostly what I want to talk about this episode. Um yeah, basically success. I didn't even talk about success. Jeez. Maybe I should have cut these all in I could have talked about all this stuff in separate episodes and this could be like episode 5. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about success. Success seems to be dependent for some people on financial benefits or like money or like, a lot of people do that with financial success. Like that seems to be a lot of people's definition of success is just having a lot of money, having a big house, having a car, having a spouse maybe. I see success as freedom. I see success as freedom ultimately. And what I mean by that is like having the freedom to literally do anything you want is success to me. So it's like, hey, this weekend I feel like flying to Paris and, seeing the Eiffel Tower, doing all the trophy tourist stuff, riding my bike, near some famous park or something. Like, I don't know, just a random topic, right? But I'm like, that basically could be everything that defines what success is. Because it's like, in your life right now, can you just stop on a whim and just go travel, And I feel like not a lot of people can just do that. People probably have responsibilities they'd have to worry about. Like, oh man, I gotta worry about, like my job. How would I just leave on a moment's notice? Like, I don't have the money to do that. Like, but that's what I mean by success. It counts financial stuff in that, but I'm like, the freedom to just be able to do anything you want on a whim's, notice. I want to spend time with my family and take everybody on a vacation. I want to be able to, do something simple like go get my car washed today. I want to be able to go, to my favorite restaurant. I want to be able to, go to the park and play basketball. Just like stuff like that, but like at any given time that you want to. Not like, in the middle of the night or something. But I mean like, just to be able to just do it on a whim's notice. You don't have to worry about work. You don't have to worry about, okay. Okay. So I'm back again. My camera died again. And then I refilmed it. And then I looked back at the video and it was blurry. So this is my third time trying to talk about this one topic. I was just trying to talk about success. And now I'm all like frustrated and I'm tired because I've been talking for like over an hour and the sun is going down. And all right. But basically, my definition of success for the third time is just being able to do anything that you want at a moment's notice. I don't even know what I want to say beyond that. Yeah, it's just being able to do what you want to do at a moment's notice. And I think that's the ultimate success. Um, my examples before were probably extreme, like being able to go to Paris on a weekend notice or whatever. But I feel like that truly is the definition of success, from my perspective, is to just be able to do anything you want at any given time. Uh, I think the freedom of time is also a very big thing I want to emphasize on what I truly deem as being successful. Because you might have financial freedom, but you might not be able to necessarily, um, just go do something at a whim's notice. Like, you might not be able to just, call off a business meeting or like, stop doing paperwork to just go to Paris and just chill. But that's what I define as success. I think that's what I would ultimately want to do, and I think at one point I kind of had glimpses of that, like not really, but like like there was this period after high school where like I didn't have a job yet, and like I could wake up and make music. I could like, just I didn't have a car, so I guess that's why I say like it was like a glimpse. Like I could do some stuff, basically almost anything I wanted, but like, that feeling when you're like a kid and it's summer and like, you basically just have the whole day to do whatever you want, or the whole summer really to do whatever you want, essentially. Like you can just wake up, you can eat breakfast or whatever your parents make for you or whatever you end up getting, and then you can just like, go hang out with your friends, or you could play basketball, you could play a video game, you could just do really whatever you want because it's literally your vacation time. So I'm like, basically being on like an endless vacation would be the ultimate success to me. Is just like being able to do whatever you want to do at just like any given time. It'd just be amazing. Like, being able to spend time with your family if you wanted to, being able to, like I said, just even something simple, just like go to the park and just like walk around, or just like enjoy the weather if it's nice weather. Just being able to have that freedom to do whatever you want is the ultimate success to me. Obviously, this is like combined with like a financial freedom, because it's like you got to be able to pay your bills, right? But like, what if money wasn't a problem? So it's like it's like financial success, like combined with like the success or the freedom of time. I think that's the ultimate success. Is like you don't have to worry about money to do things, and you also don't have to worry about time restraints or like schedules or random stuff like that. You don't have to worry about that. I feel like that's the ultimate success. Um, I feel like one day I will achieve this success. This is everything that I'm working towards, is to be able to get to that level of success. Yeah, that's all I have to basically say about success, I guess. I don't know. What are your thoughts on success? If you want to comment, you can comment below. I'll read everything. So I think that'll wrap up this episode. I just really want to end cap what I meant about success before my camera died for a second time, and then I would look back at the footage and it was blurry, so I had to record again. Very frustrated about that, as you can tell. But I also want to give like a little preview of what next week the next I did that same thing in the last take. The next episode of the podcast is going to be about time, perspective, letting go of the past, and cliches. I talked about this in the last example before my camera died, or before the footage got messed up or whatever, was blurry, and I didn't refocus my camera after it died. But you know, out of all those, I really want to just talk, at least for this, about cliches, because I've been noticing like a lot of cliches have been like popping up in my life, like stuff like what goes. When I say cliches, I mean like phrases or like quotes, like all knowing type of sayings that like people kind of disregard, but are actually like very legitimately true in any given situation, or not any given situation, but most situations, right? Like the saying that what goes around comes around. That is a very true statement that, people kind of overlook or don't really pay much attention to. It's a cliche, right? It's just like, yeah, that's just kind of a general broad sweeping statement, but like A lot of things like that have actually played a pivotal role in my life right now. And I just want to call attention to stuff like that. When I want to talk about time too, and I mean like, just time as a concept in general, whether you're wasting time, who you're spending time with, uh, you know, feeling like, maybe you're not getting enough sleep, just using time wisely, you know, how time is different in space because there's space time, how, just time in general, like time to do certain things, time to relax, time. Time is a very interesting concept in general. I could talk about time for maybe the whole hour or however long the podcast will be, but I'm gonna try to break it down in a smaller segment. Um, Perspective. That's one of the things I really want to talk about because perspective is something that, like, can change your viewpoint on a lot of different things by just looking at the perspective of a different person or putting yourself in the shoes of a different person. A lot of people don't really pay attention to perspective. A lot of people only pay attention to their own perspective. A lot of people don't think about, the great perspective of everything at the same time or simultaneously. Everybody's just kind of trapped in their own worlds, thinking about their own lives, not really paying attention to the greater overall things that are happening, maybe in the world and maybe just things in general. So that's something I really want to talk about. Um, Perspective, yeah. Letting go of the past, that's a big one too. This is something that I've had to learn recently. Is just like, even letting go of people, letting go of the people in past and things that just hold you back in general is not a bad thing to do, It's hard for me to let go in general. I'm a kind of person that doesn't really want to let go of things because I think everything can always be like, fixed or, managed in some kind of way or like, saved to some kind of capacity. But you have to be okay with the concept of just letting go. Uh it's really hard to let go of stuff, especially stuff you really care about, people you really care about, memories you really care about. But some things you just have to let go and it's for the best. Some people are not worth your time. Some events or life experiences are not worth saving as memories. Some things you just need to move on from and some people you need to move on from. So I think that's, the concept of letting go, is a very important thing in my life currently. Uh and probably just is in people's lives in general. So that's something I definitely want to talk about. And was there another topic? No, that was it. Time, perspective, letting go, the past, and cliches. Yeah. So that'll be officially podcast episode 2. This is podcast episode 1. Last episode 0. So technically that's 3 episodes. Um, I don't know. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of getting, or if I did say this earlier, yeah, kind of regretting the podcast 0 thing. I feel like that makes things more difficult for myself and probably for you to follow can uh the canon of the Cloudy Head podcast. I hope that's not a podcast name taken by another podcast because I really don't got anything else. I thought of it like randomly one day and I was just like, you know what? Almost on the spot, really. I was just like, yeah, I think I'll call it that. The Cloudy Head podcast. I should get like a custom animation or something. I can't be bothered. I'm still using that phrase a lot. So yeah, that'll wrap up this week's episode. Um, I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. Sorry for my camera dying like 3 times, twice, whatever, how many times. Yeah, I guess I'll see you when I see you. This episode is recorded again in May, and this will probably hit sometime the end of June or middle of June, sometime like that. I don't know. I'm gonna try to do these about maybe, I don't know. The frequency, I'm still kind of, I don't know. I could very well do this thing weekly, but right now it's a bi-weekly thing, so that means it'll be twice a month. I know most podcasts are like, usually generally like once a month or like once a week. So I feel like this is somewhere in the middle of that, you know. It's not quite weekly, but it's not quite monthly. It's bi-monthly. Yeah. And you know, in future episodes, you know, if you have something that you want me to talk about or a topic that you want me to talk about, just comment it and then, you know, I'll probably get to it eventually. If I find it interesting enough or I have something to say about it, you know. That's a whole podcast is just, you know, talking. So, you know, thanks again for watching and yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.